Today on the Lou Blakely Show, I'm interviewing Kirsten Morrison, and we're talking all about how to embrace your human design in your online business. I've spent the last 18 months diving deep into my own human design with Kirsten, and she's been instrumental in so much personal growth for me. So human design really is one big, huge permission slip to be yourself, and actually, so is Kirsten. She's been my one-to-one coach at times, and I've also done breathwork with her and her human design program, Alchemy. So I am honoured to have her on as my first guest, and I hope that you gain from her knowledge as much as I have. And honestly, we could have talked about this topic for hours. There's just so much to human design and how it relates to different things. So we're already planning a follow-up episode to this. Let me know if you love it. Welcome to the Lou Blakely Show. You're in the right place if you're a service provider who is ready to transition into a more freedom-based business model with digital products. In this podcast, I share with you a unique combination of launch strategy, energetics, and mindset to create true, long-lasting success. It's time to ditch the burnout for good, create the business that you truly want, and share it with the world. Let's get started. Welcome to this episode of the Lou Blakely Show, where I'm interviewing my very first guest, Kirsten Morrison. I'm so excited to have you here today, Kirsten.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me be your first guest. I feel honoured.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this interview. I think that human design is such an amazing tool to use, and I also think you have a pretty interesting story about how you found human design. So I thought I'm going to hand over the floor to you and let you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and what led you personally to human design.
Oh my God, I still have not found a way of making this succinct. Okay, buckle in. Let's get ready for a lifelong story.
I love it.
Basically, I use a combination of human design, mindset coaching, and also breathwork and somatics to work with women to really untap their limitless potential. So really what I work with is specifically mainly women in business who are really looking to uncover their unique soul genius and weave that into every element of their business that they have. And I think that human design is really just this beautiful roadmap and tool to understanding exactly who we are, exactly what we came here for, all of our unique genius, how we do what we do, and also what we're here to do as well. I think that there's so much uncertainty and constant times of redirection in entrepreneurship. And I think that human design just gives us this piece of paper that we can continue to go back to and be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm here for. Oh, okay, yeah, I've got it. And it's just so helpful to have to lean on, because I think sometimes we can really question ourselves of what we're doing, whether we're doing the right thing, what we should be doing, and we can be so influenced by what we see other people do online that it just helps us stay true to ourselves. And that is really what I do, is sort of help people unpack exactly who their authentic soul essence is, and then work with them on those mindset and somatic layers to work through any of the resistance in the way of that, or any of the beliefs that are popping up, or any of the conditioning in the way of them really allowing their full self to blossom into the world.
I love that. The thing that I love about human design, or what struck me the most, is that it's not like you have to be more of something you're not to achieve, whatever we get told in the online space, because I think we're always being told, you're not enough of this, or you're not enough of that, to be successful or whatever. But when I worked with you around really diving deep into my human design, because I have done Kirsten's Alchemy program, what really struck me about it was that you're actually embracing fully who you are rather than trying to fill the gaps of the person that you're not.
Exactly. And I think that it's such a shift in the way that we approach, the inner work, or, any sort of success metrics, because I think, like you said, there's so much, especially on the online space, it's like, this is the best way. This is what you should be doing. If you're not doing this, you're not going to be successful. If you're not showing up every day, you're not posting content, you're not da, 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 da. And it can just get so overwhelming. And, you know, most of the women that, you know, come to me are at that kind of point where they're like, I'm just sick of trying everything and like nothing's like seeming to like work, or I'm just feeling really frustrated or lost or stuck. And I think what human design really gives us is, rather than I have to figure out how to do this, or I have to figure out how to learn this, or I have to show up in a different way than feels natural to me, or I need to be cold DMing people or showing up every day, and we're working against our energy in a lot of those ways. And I think there's always this sense of seeking and searching and finding and adding and proving, rather than this beautiful place that I think human design walks us down this path of true acceptance of self. And with that acceptance of self comes this deep, unequivocal self-trust in what actually works for us, and allows us to move into this space of more experimentation and play and fun and delight with who we are and finding out our own unique process. And so much just opens up with this ease, just this like, it's like a big giant exhale from inside your bones of like, okay, I can just do it my way, and I don't need to do all of these things. And it's like just like pulling a little thread, and it's just this gentle unraveling of, okay, this is actually who I am. And from that space of like acceptance and gratitude and appreciation for who we are, that way we can sort of find out, okay, so this is what I do really well, and this is what I'm here for, and how can I just tweak and improve that for myself? And we can sharpen our own tools of what comes natural to us by continuing to repeat that experiment and practicing being ourselves and living true to our authentic design, rather than keep trying to like stuff our foot in a boot that just doesn't fit. Like that's kind of what it feels like when we're trying to operate like other people. And, you know, that's kind of how I found human design as well. I mean, there's a long backstory to that got me to the point of human design that led me on this path. But in terms of the human design aspect that I found, that I discovered, well, actually first found out about human design in 2018, and I pulled up my chart and I was like, what the hell is this? Because it's so confusing when you first open it up. It's like, what am I looking at? I don't know. And I just benched it. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I kind of knew that I was a manifestor, and some things kind of popped up a little bit, but they just weren't really landing for me at that time. And I think that human design finds you when you're ready for it and when it's time. And in 2020, I had just taken the plunge into full-time entrepreneurship from juggling the part-time job and the full-time job. And I took the plunge at the end of February 2020, like right into the pandemic. I know.
Timing.
Literally, I had waited years. I had like built the side hustle up to the point that it was like, okay, now they're both equal and great. And I thought I had like landed in this perfect timing. I'd just passed my, 10 years at the employment. I got my 10-year leave package. Like I'd planned it all out perfectly. And of course, life was like, haha, we'll show you timing. So it was an absolute baptism by fire. And I think that no matter whether you think you've done the juggle of part-time and part-time business well, nothing will ever prepare you, I think, for full-time entrepreneurship. It's just such a different headspace. It's a different energy. It's a different level of requirement of self. There's just so much that goes into it when you are fully responsible for yourself and your livelihood and your career, and there's not one element of safety within that anymore. And I think for someone who had clung to that little safety net for such a long time, that was a huge leap for me. So like not only had I made this huge leap of faith, I'd gone from having this 10-year steady kind of job in the background that no matter what I tried, I went to America in that time with that job. I tried fashion blogging, I did fashion designing, I did so many different things, but that job was the constant. So letting that go was already a big enough deal. Yeah. And then letting that go and then moving into this brand new world that nobody knows what the hell is going on. And that was just such a huge, a huge impact for me, because at that time, a lot of my income as well that I had kind of banked on that had provided this 50-50 split was my breathwork sessions. And of course we couldn't do in-person sessions at that time.
Yeah.
So there was and I was doing in-person events, and there was so much that had been tied up in person. So all of a sudden I was thrust into this whole new world within my own life. And then we're in this whole new world. And so I was basically going to all of my friends who had been in entrepreneurship a couple of years longer than me. And I was saying to them, what are you doing? What should I be doing? What am I meant to be doing? How do I make this work? Because I, was determined to make it work. But unbeknownst to me at the time, all of my intimate, close friends who are in business are generators or projectors.
Mm.
And so they have found their own little flow with that, which works for them perfectly. But what I didn't realize at that time was that I am a manifester and that was never going to work for me. So I was doing exactly what I was seeing everybody else do to the letter. I was doing everything, I hired a sales coach, a business coach, all these different things. I was doing exactly what they told me to do. Nothing was working. And I was getting to the point where I was so fed up, because I'm like, why is this working for everybody else but not me? Like, what is going on? Like, why can I not make this work? Like, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong about me? Like, I was really going into this space of, well, maybe I'm just not cut out for this, because I'm seeing everybody else make this work. And, some people were, at that time having these huge months because everyone was stuck at home and, investing in themselves. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? What am I meant to be doing? And at that time, human design was just popping up everywhere, which it tends to do once it's ready. Once you're ready for it, it stalks you. And so it was just popping up everywhere for me. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I'll just book myself a human design reading. Maybe I'll get some answers in here. It was just this act of final desperation, basically. And what I never expected to get out of that reading was literally all the answers that I needed and answers I didn't even know I needed. It provided me so much clarity, and all of a sudden, pretty much my whole life made sense in that 90 minutes. I was like, right, okay, well, suddenly I have so much context to why I do the things that I do. Even for me as a manifestor, I work in surges followed by periods of rest. And up until that point, I was fighting that so hard because I thought that I needed to be consistent online to be successful. So I was consistently pushing through my natural rhythms, and I actually wasn't able to show up in my best energy at all. And I wasn't able to make the impact that I'm uniquely here to make. And as a manifestor, I'm actually not meant to ask for permission on what I want to do. I'm not meant to show up and ask my audience, what do you want to learn from me? What do you want to hear from me? All of the things that I was doing. So unbeknownst to me, I was actually creating a repelling energy with my audience. And so having this context all of a sudden to how would actually suit me best to show up, I was able to stop fighting against myself, but I also was able to trust myself more, because so often when I was thinking of executing an idea, the first thing I would do is either ask one of my friends, ask someone for their input or their opinion, like, what do you think about this? I'm thinking of doing this. Do you think that's a good idea? Or I would pop on and ask my audience, like, I'm thinking of doing this. Would you like that if I did something like that? Crickets. And so as a manifestor, my energy is actually here to work in these big surges with the rests. But in the surges, my way of attraction is through informing. So rather than, what would you like to learn from me? Is this a good idea? Would you like this? My energy is here to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is why it's going to be great. This is how you can get on board.
Yeah, I love that, because it's not always, I don't think we should always be asking our audience for their opinion, because they only know what they know.
Yeah.
So I love that about the manifestor, is that you're actually like, I'm the leader here. And if you want to see where we can go, then you need to follow me.
Yeah. But I think also just trusting that inner urge of like, okay, I feel like I want to go over here in this direction. And like, rather than stopping myself from going off in this direction, and, you know, because part of the manifestor, what we're here for is to navigate uncharted territories and, you know, basically create new realities and move in new directions and innovate. So if I'm constantly asking for feedback on current reality, then I'm never going to be able to innovate or move in a new direction. And so I think that really what that allowed to happen was for me to just explore and expand into my creativity and what I wanted to do. And, you know, for me, I'm like, even if 0 people wanted to come with me in that direction and it completely flopped, I would still be so much happier that I tried to do it my own way rather than, you know, water it down and potentially do something that I didn't actually want to do, because, you know, that was something that had prevented me from executing a lot of ideas in the past, is because I would be all excited. I'd be like, okay, I think I want to do this thing. What do you think? What would you want? And people would tell me and it would be completely contradict my idea. And I'd be like, oh, great. Well, I won't do that.
Well,
and like,
there's no good energy behind that, right?
And then I would go into this like completely like resentful energy of like, oh, great. Well, okay, well, I won't even bother then if no one gets it, no one wants it. But when I just show up and I say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going. If you want to come with me, this is how you can. If you don't, cool, I'm still going anyway. There's an energy within how my aura and my energy operates that actually initiates people into that direction, and the excitement that I have and the certainty that I have in the direction that I'm going. And so me making these shifts and actually operating like a manifestor changed literally every single thing in my business. Like all the things that I had been trying and pushing and looking for magic silver bullet solutions outside of myself and asking for and seeking and desperately trying to clutch onto just clicked into place seemingly overnight. Like it was just literally this point of shift of pushing to attracting. And I've literally never looked back since, which I'm sure you can relate to. Like once you know your human design, there's no other way of operating.
There is no going back.
No.
You cannot live out of alignment.
No.
Because it feels so heavy.
Yeah.
I think after you know your human design, like once you've embraced it, you literally cannot force yourself through situations that you don't want to be in.
No.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's the most amazing thing ever, because I think it always pulls you back to living in alignment.
Yeah.
And that's something you talk about a lot. So it's not just, it's all of the energy types, right? That it teaches every single individual how to live in alignment. So do you want to do a little summary of what human design actually is for those people listening that don't know what it is?
Yeah, perfect. So human design is a combination of astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, quantum physics, and genetic code science. So quite a few little things all wrapped up in one. But basically the easiest way to kind of understand what it gives us is when we think of like astrology, right? When we get those kind of personality aspects, like I'm a Capricorn and I'm determined, So it gives us that kind of personality aspect, but it also works with the physical body, like the energetics of the physical body. So it combines essentially our soul path, our soul essence, our psyche, our personality with how our physical body and energy operates, because we are a soul having a human experience. And I think that's why human design is so resonant for people, because it actually gives us both aspects. So we have this kind of certainty of our path and our direction and our qualities, and you know, this is how I metabolize stress, and this is how I metabolize emotions, and this is, you know, how mental pressure operates for me. So it actually works on that physical level as well. So that's kind of the overarching system. And then we break down into 5 energy types within human design. That's kind of the first layer that we start to split down into. And then from there, that goes into like you pull up your own individual chart, and then we're literally as unique as our fingerprint. Like we go into much more detail about how we operate as individuals, but we do operate as 5 different energy types, and that's the first kind of point of differentiation with us. So essentially we have the manifestors, which are 9% of the population, and manifestors have a closed and repelling aura because they are essentially here to inform, exactly like I said, where they are going, what need. This is where I'm going. This is why it's going to be great. So they inform and give people around them a heads up of where they're going and what they're doing. And their aura moves outwards. And so that outwards expansion actually is what I said, like initiates people into that energy, or it moves any resistance out of their path. So essentially manifestors are here to be the initiators. They're here to carve out new realities and really follow that inner urge, let people around them have a heads up of what they're about to do and initiate people into that direction or move any resistance out of their path. But basically all a manifestor wants is a clear path from A to B. Once they know where they're going, that's why they give people a heads up, because they want to move as quickly as possible in that surge energy into that point B. So basically that's how they're here to work, in big surges. They inform in that surge, this is where I'm going, this is why it's going to be great. And then they initiate and catalyze action in the environment around them.
So the manifestors, the type of people you see online that will show up and just like post 3 to 5 times a day for a couple of weeks, and then they'll just go off the internet for a few months.
Potentially. I mean, I've seen so many different ways that manifestors operate, but what I'm actually observing more about manifestors lately in the ones that I follow is, rather than like, posting 3 times a day for, a couple of weeks, what I'm noticing more is there's like a flurry of activity for like a day or two, and then like a couple of weeks more quiet, and then a little spike in activity, and then a little bit more quiet, and then a spike in activity. But it's more, I'm noticing it, because mine can be quite extreme, where I can have like several weeks radio silence, and then, a big boom where it's a couple of weeks of intense activity. But I also do observe myself in that micro pattern sometimes as well. But what I'm noticing a lot from the manifestors I'm following at the moment is this more, small focused bursts here and there. Like it's really interesting. I've just noticed a shift in that lately of this sort of more closer together, like rapid surging in these little flurry of spikes. So I think, again, it really depends on the person's individual chart once you start exploring that. Because for me, for example, I have all of that manifestor surge and rest energy that I have amplified in other areas of my chart. Like I'm an emotional authority, so I ride the wave. That's cyclical. I'm a 6-2 profile. That's very inward outward. So there's so much in my chart that doubles down on that. I'm either like 0 or 200 basically. And so occasionally I will have like a little beep like here and there. But for me, like it's very dramatic and amplified with how I show up online. And interestingly enough, I actually saw a post, because I have so many memories on Facebook that pop up from when I didn't know I was a manifestor. And there was a post recently that I, had to have this little inward cringe moment, because firstly I was apologizing for being absent. Like I was like, since coming back online, like, I was in this real like apologetic, like, oh, I've been absent again. And then I was also, interestingly enough, condemning the fact that I'd come back online and was going straight into what I called hustle and overdrive at that time, because I had no context for that's how I worked. And one of the lines was like, a friend said to me, you're either all or nothing, like you've got no in between. And I thought that was a bad thing. I didn't realize that that's actually how I was here to operate. So even just having that understanding for myself has been huge, to actually embrace that I'm going to be gone as long as I'm gone. But when I come back, like I move more in this energy of like an asteroid hitting the earth. It's like the impact is huge, but the ripple effect of that sustains me in my rest periods. And that's something that I actually had to learn to trust as an entrepreneur, was like, no one was going to forget about me. No one was going to die. Like nothing's going to go wrong if I actually just take that time, because there's literally no point in me showing up in that half-assed energy, because again, it's like that repelling energy. So my best impact can come when I actually trust myself to be well rested and show up when that inspiration strikes and that surge energy hits. So that has changed a lot for me personally within that energy.
Yeah, because if you're showing up with that resistance, I feel like people energetically can just somehow feel it on the other side. Totally. When you're like following the rules, or you've got to post it this time of the day and you've got to do it this many times a week.
Yeah.
And then you get frustrated because it's not working.
Yeah.
And then there's other times on the flip side when you truly just do embrace your way, even though you may have been told your whole life that's not the way it should be. Like for me as a manifesting generator, it's that I change my mind all the time.
Yeah.
But actually when I embrace that and just have multiple things going on at once, it just flows.
Yeah.
And there's no real explanation for it.
No. And I love that, like you just said, it frustrates you, because that's obviously the not self of the manifesting generator and generator, which it's so funny. We all use our not self language so much when something is working against us. It's so interesting. But the manifesting generator and generator, you guys operate very similarly. And so what sets you apart from the rest of the energy types is that you both have a defined sacral. And the sacral is the biggest energy motor in the human design system. And so this gives you consistent access to life force energy. And so you're basically this sacred custodian of life force energy. And the way that you get access to the full fuel in that motor, and the way that we all get a benefit from you actually having that full life force energy activated, is when you're doing what you enjoy. And so that is really, at its simplest essence, what the generator and manifesting generator is here for, is a life full of satisfaction and joy. So with that, it's really about choosing to double down on the things that bring you satisfaction, that feel like it's lighting you up, and that feel like what's, a sacral yes. So the strategy for the generator is to respond, because you are consistently moving through life basically with this little radar in your sacral being like, ooh, like yes, like expansive, exciting. I want to move into that. Or if I have to, if I should. There's like a distinct yes or no in your body when you're aware of it.
Yeah, there really is.
And so you are really just here at the simplest essence to really just respond to life and move into the things that feel expansive and exciting, and away from the things that feel like or constricting. And because that is basically your sacral saying like, ooh, green light, we have energy for this. And when you move into those opportunities that feel exciting and expansive, that energy builds up in your body. It actually spills out into your auric field, which is open and enveloping, and it actually pulls life towards you. So your success as a generator, as a manifesting generator, comes from you doing what you love. And the more that you do what you love, that excitement, that delight, that joy, that satisfaction spills out, and you become basically a super attractor, because people want to be in that energy. And then we have our projectors. They are 24% of the population, and they have a very different viewpoint than the rest of us. Essentially, if we were all on a hike, they would be the eagle above the field. And they are really here for their capacity to see. Their energy actually goes into the other, which gives them this really unique ability to see super clearly. So optimizing systems, structures, making efficiencies, improvements, being able to recognize people's genius and gifts, and being able to enhance that. Like, they are really here to be this beautiful guide, visionary, and leader. And so their strategy is to wait for an invitation. But really what they are doing is allowing themselves to be recognized. And I always say to projectors, your perspective is as valuable as liquid gold. So really you're just being visible, showing up in your genius, and thinking of your energy like a spotlight. Not everyone's always going to be ready to step into the spotlight, but when they are, that's when they're going to step in, and it's going to feel really beautiful in that reciprocity when people recognize you for like, wow, you're really great at this. I'm ready to work with you. I want to step in and be in exchange with you, and really see and value you in that exchange. And then finally, we have our little reflectors, who are 1% of the population, beautiful little cosmic unicorns, human design celebrities. And what sets them apart from the rest of us is when you pull up your human design chart, you'll have some areas that are colored in and some areas that are white, which is known as our definition. So where we have consistent access to energy, and the white areas are where we are open and receptive and fluid, and what we're here to learn, and where our wisdom is formed. So reflectors are all open. So their chart is completely white when they pull it up. And so basically they are really, really in tune and receptive to the environment around them. The reflector's gift is to be able to basically be this impartial judge, to support community, to see what is equitable, what is fair, what is just, what is right, and they can tell us what's working and what isn't. So essentially, their biggest gift is to really give themselves spaciousness, time, a healthy environment, and also to not be too fixed and rigid, to actually allow themselves to be fluid and evolving and be in this constant delight of like, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? And just allowing that to be really exciting. And so really when we all work together, we've got our manifestors who are here to initiate. We have our generators and manifesting generators who are here to respond to joy and follow those little and bring all of that beautiful energy to the world. Our projectors are here to see and guide the process, and our reflectors are here to tell us how it's all working and how it's going and what we can improve. So we all have this beautiful symbiosis when we allow ourselves to work as we are meant to as individuals, because then we can actually all, add our unique harmony to the fabric of the collective and actually start to move in our signature state. So we all have a signature attached to when we do follow our strategy, and that is peace, satisfaction, success, and surprise. And so the more of us that are living in our unique essence, the more that energy is going to be here in the planet, rather than our not self, which is anger, frustration, bitterness, and disappointment. And I think we look around and we see a lot of that because there's so much of society that shoulds on us. And so we are all kind of, sometimes led down this path where we're boxed in, and this elicits this not self. So it's like if we start to turn this ship around and actually operate it as ourselves, we could literally change the frequency of the planet into those signature states, which would just be beautiful.
So basically everyone needs to learn their human design and embrace it.
Yes.
And things would change.
Everyone, we need to literally give people their human design chart at birth as they leave the hospital. The earlier the better.
Yeah, because my son's nearly 16 and he's a projector, and I can see so much since I've learned that about how he just is so much of a projector. He loves rest. He embraces it. He deserves it as far as he's concerned.
Your son cracks me. Whenever you share with me what he says, I'm iconic, love him. Can he come and be a guest speaker in my programs? Because he's just in full ownership. And that's the thing, right? It's when we actually don't interrupt the process of our kids, they're already we're born living our design. So the more that we can actually just allow them to stay with it, the less they'll have to do what we've had to do as adults and go through the deconditioning process.
Yeah, and I really feel I don't know if this is a thing with projectors, but with him I really notice it's a wisdom, he has been here before, he has a much higher level insight of the world for someone his age than I've really seen in anyone else. So is that a projector thing?
It could be so many different aspects in his chart. It could be the fact that he is a projector and he can see things clearly and, he's in tune with that. But I haven't seen his chart, but there's so many other little layers that could also influence the way that he sees things.
And that's the thing, I quite often get clients, that come to me for launching and things like that. And we do talk a little bit about human design, but usually it's what's your human design? And it's I am a manifestor or I am a projector, but that's where the knowledge ends. But where I found as someone who's worked with you, there is so much to the human design chart, and the more you delve into it, the more it really starts to make sense. Whereas me as a manifesting generator, that's only really one part. There's so many different layers. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you just know your energy type and that's it, I definitely recommend that you get a reading or, delve deeper into those parts, those other aspects, because as a whole it just starts to make so much more sense. I actually feel as a manifesting generator that I resonate quite a lot with a lot of the manifestor side of things as well, whereas usually it's you're sacral and you're more like a generator. But I think for me it's a combo.
Well, yeah, because as a manifesting generator, you are, you do kind of live on this beautiful sliding scale between the energies of the manifestor and the generator. Your strategy is still the same as the generator. You still have that strategy to respond. But because you have that direct energy line to the throat, like the manifester, once you do respond, your energy can go into overdrive like the manifester. It's like the foot on the gas energy. So you've got this kind of blend of the generator's mastery and also the manifestor's innovation. So I think there's this really beautiful combination with the manifesting generator, which is why I call you guys the cosmic hummingbird, because you really are here to dive into all of these beautiful threads of your passions and kind of allow yourself to be, multi-interested, but even within your own business, like once you find an umbrella, it's allowing that to take on many forms. I did a reading for a manifesting generator last week and, she has just one project on the go, but it's creating these beautiful fascinators and headbands and headdresses, and she's using so many different textures and fabrics and colors, and she's, doing markets and, online and events and different things. So there's so much room for her to play and experiment and kind of be that hummingbird energy within the umbrella that she's found. So there just has to be a way for you to feel like you can move freely within the structure of your own business rather than being rigid and solid. It's like, how can I create like a playground for myself to be able to move and weave in all of these talents and skills that I've collected over the years into one place, So it's like letting that be more exciting and fun and fresh and to continue to innovate within your own space.
I do feel like there is, in the entrepreneurial space, a lot of manifesting generators. And, there's also this advice. We were talking before about all the shoulds. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And one of the pieces of advice that has been around for years in terms of online courses and programs is one offer, scale one offer.
Pick one thing.
That kind of thing, and just go all in on that and don't look at anything else until you've completed it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I didn't know why that just did not resonate with me at all, but I still felt like this is pre-human design, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
But now I know that that is not how I am going to best operate.
Yeah. And I think it's also one of those things where even when we start to know this information, it's still a bit of a unlearning process.
Totally.
Because like even with my surge and rest, even though I know that's how I best operate, there can still be times in my rest period when I'm waiting for that next little simmer of the surge, because what that kind of feels like to me is I'll kind of get like a little idea and then the energy will build. But while I'm waiting for that idea, sometimes I'm looking at people in their full creative flow online and I'm like, when is my surge coming back? And so it's still sometimes a practice for me to trust that. I reckon in the last 2 surge and rest cycles, I've finally nailed it, like exactly what I need in my rest times, how to recharge my physical body, what I need energetically, and also to trust that I'm going to be supported in those rest periods. And also I know that it's going to come back again and that there's going to be something else that will come in. And it's just about doing what I need to do in those deep replenishment times to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And so, but it took me a long time to trust that. And it was like, was fighting myself tooth and nail to kind of accept that for a while, because I had been so conditioned and taught that you have to be online every day, you should be posting multiple times a day, you have to document every bloody day, like it's just like so many
never
different
ending,
things.
right?
I know, like never ending things, and having like, a weekly podcast and a weekly this, and that just was never going to work for me. Recently I just launched my podcast and I recorded the whole thing in 2 days, edited it on the 3rd day and dropped it that afternoon. And it was just like
the whole season.
The whole season. I'm like, here it is. But that's how I work best. And it's like interesting to see the response of that is so much better than when I was doing a weekly podcast. It was like, for me, that wasn't the right move for me. So allowing myself to actually trust that I don't need to follow the rules, and there actually is no rules, because we're all so individual and unique that there's literally no one that could give us an exact roadmap for how to be ourselves and what's going to feel right for us. And so I think it gives us this beautiful discernment to be like, oh, okay, cool. I really like that aspect, or what that person is doing or what they've shared with me. I'm going to try that on. Okay, that didn't quite fit. Oh, I'm going to make this little tweak. Okay, now this feels better. And it like gives us this trust to find our own way, even within the things that we're learning, to tweak and modify them to make them work for us.
Yeah. And you get to rewrite the rules, right? Like there are actually no rules. So I love that you can take, like, this part resonates with me, this part doesn't. this over here does, I'm going to bring it together and combine it. And that is actually how, in like a noisy online world, that you can also differentiate yourself as well, because you are doing things differently, but you're actually doing things fully in alignment with what you want rather than what someone is telling you should do.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. So on the whole launching thing, how do you recommend that people maybe of different energy types actually embrace their energy types, the human design, into the way that they launch?
Yeah.
Because I do notice as a launch coach that, you know, there can be a lot of frustration with launching, a lot of really high expectations on that first launch, that kind of thing. And while I do, you know, there is strategy to launching, but also I feel like bringing that alignment and the energetics into it is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever launched my alchemy program, which you did, that was the first time I did a launch in my energy as a manifester. And I don't think it was any coincidence that it was my most successful launch, because I actually did what was right for me rather than following what I had been taught to do in the past. And so I think when it comes to launching for the types, what I would really recommend, actually, firstly, before we even go into energy types, one little energy center that I would check in your chart is, so there's a body graph that you pull up and it shows you all the energy centers you have access to. So the one right down the bottom that sits in the root center, I would check that first, because someone with an open root is probably going to need a little bit more spaciousness in a launch, and someone with a defined root that's colored in could probably have a shorter launch time, because we actually need pressure to kick in to catalyze action, whereas someone with an open root actually needs a little bit of space because pressure doesn't suit them.
What's yours? It's
defined.
Open. Oh, it's defined.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just like, carnage, chaos, manifestor, defined root, let's go. And an example of this is when I did launch alchemy that time, I'd had the idea sitting there for a really long time, just waiting, because I know that these kind of ideas they become in a little bit of a pipeline, and now I know it's just about like the right one will drop in. I'll be like, oh, this is where the surge is going this time. And so I had that sitting there, and I basically was about to go to bed, and I saw a post that was like about the 0808 Lionsgate portal. And I was like, oh my God, that's the date. I'm going to launch it. That was like 2 days away. And so I threw together the sales page, dropped it on 0808, and then I had 3 weeks from that point to create the course, sell the course, promote the course, all the things. But my surge energy was there, defined route, perfect, like 3 weeks, let's go, like pressure's on. And so that really worked for me. Whereas I was actually speaking to a friend who's a generator with an open route, and she was, when I told her.
That's an interesting combo.
Yeah. And when I told her about this, she was like, you are insane. She's like, you need at least 6 weeks to do what you're talking about. I'm like, if I had 6 weeks, I'd start this in 3 weeks. So it's like, just understanding that, firstly, will help you understand whether you need a little bit of pressure in your launch to kick things into gear, or whether you need a little bit more time. And that will probably impact the launch time you have, because like for someone with an undefined route to promote, sell and create a course in 3 weeks, that would have felt like a lot of stress and pressure, which wouldn't have been helpful, because we don't want to show up stressed to a launch. Whereas I was like, yeah, the pressure's on, let's go. And so it was good for me. So that's one area I would check first. As for the energy types, though, really the most successful energetic strategy that you could implement based on your type would be, if you're a manifester, really anchoring into that energy of informing. So showing up really confident in the direction that you're taking people. Sometimes I joke, it's like the Regina George of energy types, right? We want to be like, get in, losers, we're going shopping. Like that's the energy. It's like, get in, this is where we're going. And so the strategy with that is really about being really confident about where you're going and just giving people the information in like an informing way. So it's like, again, we're not mean like Regina George, we're not implementing that kind of language or that energy, but it's the concept of like that kind of level of confidence she had in herself. Like when they cut the holes in her top and she's like, whatever, and just like strutted down the hallway anyway. It's like that kind of energy. And so I think for the manifestor, it's like really trusting in the direction you want to head, really trusting in your idea and the way that you want to execute it. And like, not even if you can't see that happening anywhere else, you've never seen it done before. If it's coming from within you, like, do it. And so really the energy within that, with that launch is like, this is where we're going. This is why it's going to be great. This is how you can get on board. But either way, this is happening. And like, that's kind of the energy to have, and really just communicate.
It's
exactly.
Like super decisiveness. Right?
Yeah. It's like, you know, this is what it is. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting. This is what you're going to learn. This is why it's going to be great. But it's like just speaking into that decisiveness and clarity in the direction that you're heading. And, you know, not everyone's going to want to get on board. That's fine. But for the people that do, it's going to feel really exciting and activating. And so your job is to just stay in that energy and just keep people in the loop about where you're going and what it is and why it's going to be great and when it's going to, you know, cut off and when they can jump aboard and all those sort of things. Just giving them the information in that really direct way. As for the generators and manifesting generators, the biggest gift for your launch is to be excited about it. Like, convey your excitement. So with that response energy, if you are showing up on stories or if you're creating content based on this logical space of who's my ideal client, what do they need to know, and it's like coming from a head, or like, I've got to post like 6 times in this sequence and that, and it's like all coming from the head, that passion that is actually your success magnet isn't going to be felt. So the best thing that you can do is stay engaged with your excitement about what you're doing and show up in that excitement, show up in that passion, you know, take people even like behind the scenes in the lead up of creating it, like take people on that journey with you, like build that sacral momentum in the lead up to your launch and kind of build that enthusiasm with your audience. So by the time you drop it, they're already activated in that excitement. They've seen you get excited about creating it and, you know, launching it and all those sort of things. So take people into your aura, like bring people along for the ride and bring them into the excitement. Why did you create it? Like, what did you respond to that allowed you to be so excited about this? Because it's different to the manifester, right? The manifester can come out of nowhere and be like, bam, here it is. This is where we're going. This is why it's going to be great. And like, I tend to give people a few days heads up. Like now, like I can feel the energy shifting, and I've started like letting people know, like, and giving them a heads up, like, oh, the energy is shifting. This is what's coming. This is what you can expect, you know, in a couple of days. Like, we're about to go for it, like buckle in, like, and then also when I'm exiting, I'm like, okay, well that's been lovely. Thank you all for playing along. Goodbye. See you next time. And like, so my audience understands that now. But for the generator and manifesting generator, like it's not quite that same catalytic energy of the manifester. So building that sacral momentum and excitement with your audience will mean that when you drop the thing, like they're already energetically invested with you. So it's like that building momentum and excitement. It's like, oh, because the sacral continues to expand and build momentum too. So bring people into that exciting journey and let them feel things with you, because that's really your gift, is allowing your joy and delight and inspiration to spread outside of you and welcome in that open, enveloping aura, bring people into that. So that's the best thing I can say. And even when you're creating content or creating anything around your launch, make sure that it's coming from that, like that expansive, like sacral, yes, I'm so excited to share this. Oh my God, I can't wait to jump on and tell people about this. Staying connected to that sacral, which means that you might have to build things into your routine around that time to keep yourself engaged in that. Maybe it's also like doing what you love as a hobby in that time as well. So it's like if you did a dance class every Tuesday, like keep that, stay in that sacral excitement. And also like if you feel your energy wavering, it's like connect back into that energy. Like maybe there's like a post or a picture or something that you can keep connecting back into where you're like, oh, yep. And you can allow yourself to respond again to the excitement of that program and share that.
Because when there's like a formula to follow, I mean, for us as a manifesting generator, the not self is frustration, right? And it's like when you've got to do all of this list of things and you're not reconnecting to why you're even offering this thing in the first place, that's when the frustration comes in.
Yeah.
But like also, I'm always saying this to people, like if you're creating an online course, it shouldn't just be about what people want in terms of what will they pay for and what's the skill that you have that you can like commercialize in a sense or monetize. It's actually what really lights you up.
Yeah.
And I think if you can nail that, then your sales and your results and your whole enjoyment of the entire process is going to be so much higher.
Yeah. So like an example was recently I saw this manifesting generator who's a coach. She was selling a program and it was a mystery program. So it was like the price kept going up every couple of days, but you didn't even know what it was. But every time she showed up in story, she's like, oh my God, guys, I'm so excited about this. Like, oh, wait, do you see what it is? Like? And it was like the excitement. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I don't even know what it is, but I want to be a part of it. And it was like this like excitement. So it's like that energy is what really brings people in. So it's like keeping that excitement about what you're doing is so key rather than coming from the head. Come from the body. Do beautiful embodiment practices. Stay connected to your body. Stay connected to your sacral, whether it's breath work, movement, dance, whatever you need to do to stay in your body and show up from that place of sacral excitement. It's going to open up so much space and possibility.
Something that I've found really useful is a manifesting generator. It's such a long word, 2 words.
MG.
I keep saying, yeah.
Manny Gen. We're shortening it. You know that now.
Yeah, and I think maybe I learned this from you. I'm pretty sure I would have. Most of my human design has been with you. But, you know, that whole tapping into your sacral and allowing the noise to come through.
Yeah, the actual, yeah.
Ooh.
So it's like, yeah, so,
you know, like,
yeah. So if you know, are disconnected from that feeling in the body, it's like building that back with sound. So it's like, you know, if I were to ask you like, you know, do you want to do this launch? You'd be like, or like, and it's like that sound is like a dead giveaway for
yeah, that's like your instant answer. And I think having a sacral authority is kind of an advantage in a way because you get to act really fast.
So yeah, for sure. Yeah. Constantly jealous of that on my emotional ride as a emotional manifester. But for projectors, the biggest thing for a projector is, you know, visibility is how you attract attention and invitations. So visibility and being seen in what you do, in your genius as the guide, positioned as the guide, is really how you'll attract your signature of success, because success is a byproduct for projectors when they are visible and seen. Because when people can see them in what they do, their aura literally has an invitation field. So people will be like, oh, great, that's what you do. I need help with that. I want to work with you. And so I see this all the time with projectors who, you know, show up and position themselves as the guide and really be that spotlight and holding that energy of like, you know, this is what I've learned, this is what I've navigated, this is what I've observed, this is what I'm offering. And so you can have that too. And it's like, this is what I'm offering. And it's like really just opening up the space. It's like, this is how you can join. Here's the link. Here's how you book a call. It's just allowing people to walk into the spotlight. So any like pitching, pushing, cold calling, cold DMing, any of that is going to create a repelling energy for the projector, because again, we're really standing in that spotlight energy and letting people walk into your spotlight. So really being clear on the type of invitations you want to call in. So say, for example, it's a launch. Okay, I want 10 people in this program. What is the program about? What is it that you offer? And are you actually visible for people to connect to that? And so maybe that's stories, maybe it's lives, maybe it's posts, maybe it's your mailing list, whatever works for you. But it's like, do people know that that's what you can help them with and that that's what it is? And it's just about really just being in that beautiful energy of like, my perspective is as valuable as liquid gold. Let me just show up and share that. And the right people will step into the spotlight. And I trust that. And it's like really being in that space of trust in your perspective, in your genius, in what you offer, and allowing people to walk towards you. So visibility and being seen in your launch is huge.
Projectors are kind of like, I don't know, I kind of look at them like geniuses in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like so many of the most successful people I know are projectors, because they have just mastered the art of like, this is what I do really well. And they show up and share that. And people are like, holy crap, how can I work with you?
And they don't waste their time trying to be something they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, again, it's really like depending on the conditioning, because I've also, met a lot of projectors who are still trying to be generators. And, once they understand this kind of softening into that, oh, okay, I don't need to like be grinding 24/7, or I don't need to be showing up in this way, blah, blah, blah. It's like really just trusting that beautiful energy like makes such a huge difference, because when you are really in ownership and celebration of your unique gift and genius, and you show up and let that be seen, and people can connect to that, even if, say, for example, an invitation that you wanted was more podcast interviews, are you on your platform speaking into the things that you want the invitations for? It's like if people know you for that, the invitations will roll in, and then you get to decide whether you feel seen, valued, and recognized in that exchange, and whether you want to share your unique gifts. Because the way that I kind of see the projector, if I was a projector, it'd be like, do you even know how valuable my skill set is? Like, it's like really like taking ownership of that, of like, I have this beautiful, unique perspective, and I'm pretty amazing. So if you want to work with me, like you can, but I'm not going to go chasing that. It's like sitting in like the throne of your genius and really holding that energy of like, mate, you want to work with me, trust me. So if I was a projector, that is the energy I would hold. It's just literally like, I'm like an energetic genius. Like,
I love that. That's awesome.
And so I think that that's definitely a shift for some projectors, like, because, we are taught a lot of the chasing mentality when it comes to success. And I think flipping the script and really just holding that energy of like, yeah, my perspective is amazing, it's super valuable, and the right people are going to step into an equal exchange with me on that energy. So it's a different energy to play with. And so our beautiful reflectors, obviously being 1% of the population, I think that they have the most potential for this conditioning, right? Because they are, so unique. And I think it's celebrating that uniqueness that turns everything around for our beautiful reflectors. And I think the biggest thing I would say is just spaciousness. Their strategy and their authority is to wait a lunar cycle. So before you even enter a launch, sit on it for a lunar cycle, a full 30 days, and just feel into like that idea, the launch process, what you want to create, feel into it. And then maybe you want to spend another 30 days creating and sharing about it. Like, just allow yourself the spaciousness and let it be fluid. Like, don't worry about whether it, evolves and changes. I've worked with a reflector for, over a year, and so many of her ideas have started one way and finished another. It's like she's allowed that to evolve as new information has circulated through her reality, through that lunar process. And so, she's kind of created this beautiful little space of like pop-up, because the signature surprise, right? So she's done pop-up offers and different little things that have allowed her to engage in that spontaneity and that surprise, and, things that have been shorter and things that have been pre-recorded and longer. Like, she's allowed that to become a bit of a playground for her business. But I think the biggest things is like giving herself that spaciousness and not to feel the pressure to keep up with anything. Like, she doesn't need to do like weekly content or weekly this or a weekly call or anything. It's like this more fluid, playful structure has really been so helpful in that. So I think the biggest thing for the reflectors is spontaneity, like, engaging in that element of surprise with your audience. Like, let it be fun, let it be playful, and let it be spacious, and let it be unique. Like, you don't need to do it in the way that anyone else has done it. Really use that gift of emotional attunement and energetic attunement in the environment. Figure out what are you observing that's not working and that you would love to improve, and create something based on that. Create a space that people can step into where you are providing that solution for them.
I love that. I feel like we could talk about this stuff all day long.
Literally.
Yeah. There's so many different angles as well. But for those people who, are wondering what their human design type is, or maybe they already know what that is, but they don't know anything further, where online do you recommend to go to actually like get their full human design profile.
So I'll send you a link that you can put in the show notes that you can access your free chart. And then I'll send you the link to my YouTube channel as well, because I've got a video on each energy type there now. So there's just a short video. So once you've got your chart through the free link that I'll include, that Louisa put in the show notes, you're looking for the name energy next to energy type. So it'll either be the manifestor, generator, manifesting generator, projector, or reflector. Once you know that information, you can head on over to the YouTube, watch a short video on that. If you want to take it further, then I would definitely recommend booking a reading, because
highly recommend.
It is quite a complex web, and I think self-learning takes a while, and because a lot of the information is quite generalized, sometimes it can feel a little bit like, I don't really know how that applies to me, or I don't really know if that resonates. And so I think just having that beautiful ability to have that contextual understanding around you as an individual, and to go deeply into not only how your chart works, but how it works for you and how that applies to your life, just allows that information to take hold a lot quicker, I think, as well.
Yeah. And just for context, I did a reading with Kirsten to start off with, and then I did alchemy for 3 months, which is her 3-month program, and then did breath work alongside of that, which was an amazing combination. And then also worked privately one-on-one with Kirsten for 3 months, where, like keeping on that whole time, like stepping further and further and further into human design. And I have to say, it has completely changed my life.
Same.
Like learning your human design and actually going deep on it, like it's so different to other personality tests.
Well,
like it's not even really a personality test.
No, and I think that this is, where I think personality tests have the potential to, again, be from a space of conditioning, because we're kind of answering it from the head, right? And like the head is where a lot of our mental constructs and conditioning come from. So it's like, it can probably be somewhat accurate, obviously, because a lot of the times we are living from our mental constructs and conditioning. But I think that the human design just gives us, like I said, that real deeper layer, because it also works with our energetics and our actual physical body. And I think that that's so helpful, and why it resonates so much is because it actually really does connect us into how we best show up, how we're here to exchange energy with the world, what our specific gifts are. I think also just having that context for what we're here to learn and where we're open, that has changed so much for me, because a lot of where I, used to experience what I guess we, refer to as like limiting beliefs came from my open centers. And when these limiting beliefs would show up for me at certain points, they're right to be like, oh my God, like, why is that still showing up? I thought I dealt with that. Oh my God, do I need to do another clearing? Like, what the hell? And it's like, what that's actually given me is like, oh, that's actually just my not self. I'm just having an experience in the openness here, and recognizing it as my not self has like dissolved so much of the charge around some of these things and how I used to perceive them. And it's like, oh, I'm just great. I'm learning here. Like it's just changed my relationship with myself and the way that I show up in the world so much. And I think that one of the things I love about it is that it actually just allows us to approach it from this fun experimental place. Like there's no right or wrong, and it's not this kind of like, what am I missing? What have I got to do? It's like just this fun, like, oh, what if I just tried this? Well, how would that show up? Oh, okay, yeah, cool, that worked. I liked that. Like, and it's just this fun process. And I think it does really bring so much fun and lightness into, I guess, the personal development, professional development space, because it is so instantly assuring and there is so much beautiful space to continue to create and tweak and enhance. And I think, one of the things I was sharing with someone the other day is that it starts with a love of self and acceptance of self and trust in self, and then that ripples out to other people, and suddenly you just see and appreciate people in your life in such a different way, because there's so much of how we're typically like, well, why can't you do it more like this? And this is how you should do it. This is what works for me. And why can't you do it? So it like eliminates all of that. So we have this love, acceptance, and trust in self, love, acceptance, and trust in others. And then the beautiful third layer of the ripple that I feel like I'm really experiencing now is like a love, acceptance, and trust in life. Like there's just such a deep trust that I have now in life's process and like who I am in that process and what's happening. And I just have such a different perspective on experiences and challenges and obstacles and beautiful things that happen. Like everything just has a new perspective for me where I'm just like, how amazing is life? Like all facets of it. So I think it just has this beautiful ongoing unraveling and ripple effect that will just literally change every single aspect of your life, your business, your relationships, like everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. On that note, I think we're going to finish because you just nailed it.
Yeah.
So where can people find you online if they want to follow you and hear about what you're up to and all of that? Hear about the manifestor surges that you go through. I think I've found that really interesting actually, just to witness you kind of expressing yourself, embracing your design. So I think other people would too. So where can people follow you?
So I spend most of my time on Instagram at kirstenmorrison.co, which I find so funny because, as you know, I lost my Instagram account for 72 hours and I'm like, I'm diversifying. I'm sick of this platform. And then I literally just have stayed on there. So at kirstenmorrison.co on Instagram is the main space that I will be. And then also my website is just kirstenmorrison.co as well. So there's all the beautiful links on there. You can book a reading. I now also have my own human design reader training. So if you've ever wanted to learn human design to bring into your business, to do human design readings, that's available now. And everything else in between as well is on that website too.
I love it. And I highly recommend anyone listening to jump into probably starting with a reading, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. If you haven't had a reading before, I would definitely recommend that. If you have had a reading or you've been experimenting individually with your human design for maybe 6 to 12 months, there is an advanced human design reading as well, which takes you on a deeper level. But both of those are on the little human design page. And then, yeah, there's plenty of other spaces to play there too.
Amazing. Thanks so much for coming on today, Kirsten.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always good to have a space to inform and to let riff as a manifestor. So thank you for giving me a mic today.
Amazing. Okay, see you guys later.
Bye.
Thanks, course creators and go-getters. You're incredible, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. If you'd like to find out more about what I offer, head across to loublakely.com. See you next time.